Hello, my name is Joe McElroy and welcome to the Banterflix movie review show here on NVTV. Let's have a look at the films we've got lined up for you tonight. We'll be reviewing Gladiator 2, which is out now in cinemas. Our pick of the streams is Deadpool and Wolverine on Disney+. And we'll wrap up with our DVD of the week, which is the Blair Witch Project. So that's what we've got lined up for tonight, and joining me in the studios this evening is Adam Neeson.
Hello, Joe.
And Claire McCullough.
Hiya.
So let's get things rolling with a bit of movie news. It's been a bit of a slow week, to be honest, when it comes to movie news, but one thing caught our eye, and yours in particular probably, Adam, and that is the release of the new trailer to the new Bridget Jones film, which is the fourth in the series, which I didn't know there was a fourth one. I just assumed it was just the first and that was it, and this is like a legacy sequel. But no, Bridget Jones is back and she's mad about the boy. But before we get your reactions to it, here's a clip of the trailer.
Ah, Mrs. Darcy?
Mr. Wallaker.
Why is your granny wearing pajamas?
Bridget, you're a widow with two wonderful children. My advice to you is put your own oxygen mask on first. You just have to get laid.
Shaz is right.
Oh my god.
It's been 4 years now.
You're effectively a nun. A very, very naughty nun.
I've set you up on Tinder.
What's Tinder? Mummy! Mabel's stuck up the tree! We're going to die!
Everything all right, Mrs. Darcy?
Oh my god.
Hiya.
I've climbed a magical man tree.
Hello.
You can call me Rockstar.
Bridget Jones.
But you can call her mummy.
So that was a look at the trailer for Bridget Jones Mad About the Boy. I'm going to come to you first, Claire, because Adam is very enthusiastic, but he wants to really know what you think of the trailer first. So what do you think of Bridget Jones now? Fourth film in, what do you think?
I'm really excited. I watched the trailer and I kind of got a little bit emotional because I just remember Bridget Jones was there whenever I was kind of growing up. She's so relatable, and this is kind of like a full circle. I think it's going to round it all off. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. It's out on Valentine's Day. I'm going to go watch it with the girls.
Exactly, that's how they're promoting it. It says in the trailer, out on Valentine's Day. But unfortunately in America, I think it's going straight to Peacock. So unfortunately, all the gals have to come around to the house to watch it rather than going to the cinema. But judging from the trailer, it seems to be, that slightly bit of a somber tone to it, that Bridget's moving on with her life, and she's, there's something bad that happens in her life and she's trying to move on from that there, and sort of remind me a bit of Mamma Mia 2 in that respect. It has its audience, and I think its audience are going to love it, especially based on what you've just said, Claire. Me personally, I'm not really a fan of it. It's clear I'm not a fan of it, but the audience is out there and I think it'll still be a huge hit. But Adam, what do you think of it?
Well, the only thing I know about Bridget Jones is that she just wears big white trunks. So, I'm in.
So, no, wait, hang on. You're in if the trunks return?
Is that the subtitle of the movie?
Yes, Mad About the Boy, the trunks are back.
Return of the Trunks.
Yes.
I don't know. That's a film that's sort of washed over my head. It did look funny. The trailer looks funny. I'm a big Hugh Grant head at the minute, especially when he plays a wee weirdo. So the fact that he's not the love interest has me... If he's just going to be comic relief, I'm in it for that. The emotional stuff, sure. It's been a while since Renee Zellweger, I know she was in Judy a few years ago. It's been a while since she's been on the big screen. I think she looks good. She looks great in this. It's something comfortable about the movie, and I think people like Claire, it's nice to have something. It's nice to have a comedy in cinemas, because realistically, the only comedies we're getting are things like Deadpool and Wolverine. We'll get to that in a minute. But, for people to go out and actually see a comedy in the cinema and have a laugh at a woman in her trunks, it's the number one movie for me next year, Joe.
Exactly, you can't go wrong with a woman in her trunks. Personally, I think it has its audience. I think it's going to be a surefire hit. And like you said, it's great to see something like this in the cinema again, because although it's not for me, cinema's been crying out for films like this here for, the demographic these films are designed for, and it's great to see. But another bit of news is in the form of another sequel that Kevin Smith spoke about, Dogma 2. Now, Claire, have you ever seen Dogma or know anything about it?
Dogma, isn't that the one with the devil?
Yes, and God and all sorts of religious themes, yes.
Yeah, and it's got Alan Rickman in it.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I remember that from back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, so there have been sort of rumours and teasings of a potential sequel. So What do you think of that there? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's better leaving Dogma as it is? You know, what are your thoughts on it?
I think there's a real like revival of older films over the last like 20 years. I don't know, I would like to see more original stuff, but then I quite like it how it kind of brings the nostalgia and it brings like the target audiences back to the cinema. And if that's what we kind of need to keep the cinema going, I'm all for it. But I don't know if it's going to be as good as the first one.
Well, that's me. I'm sort of in the same boat. Like, I don't know. Well, firstly, I don't know where you could go with the story, and secondly, I'm sort of the mind it's best left certain films, you know, as they were, because, you know, for me, Dogma's a great wee film. Doesn't really leave much room for a sequel. But what do you think, Adam? Do you think there's potential for a sequel with Dogma?
It's the problem with Kevin Smith is they can't leave his toys in the toy box. And even when he does and creates something new, like the 4:30 movie that came out this year, Kevin Smith had a movie out this year, guys. Do you know about that? It's an original movie that nobody went and seen, but he is somebody that makes movies specifically for his audience, and he knows that. So to go back, he made Clerks 3 a couple of years ago. You know, Jen Silent Bob is getting another movie next year. Have Dogma 2, sure, it's a fun movie from the 90s, but I think it's that specific era of the 90s where it worked, whereas if you do it now, it's just sort of going to be just retelling the old jokes, and that is a big problem with Smith at the minute when it comes to making his movies.
Exactly, like who knows, we may even get Good Will Hunting 3 in this one, but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything when it comes to news, so let's have a look at the rest of the movies we've got lined up for this evening.
I own you now. But whose head could I give you to satisfy your fury?
The general will do. Rome has taken everything from me. But I will have my vengeance.
I have the trust of the emperor. It will clear my path to the throne. You will be my instrument.
I will never be your instrument. In this life or the next.
Lucius, take your father's strength. His name was Maximus, and I see him in you.
So our big movie this week, and it's a big movie, is Ridley Scott returning to the Coliseum with Gladiator 2. This time, instead of Russell Crowe, we've got Paul Mescal, and as well as that, we've got a new cast including the likes of Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn, and a returning Connie Nielsen. So this is sort of a follow-up / sort of reboot of Gladiator, you could say. And this time it's following Lucius, the son of Connie Nielsen's character from the first film, and how he goes through a similar path as Maximus in the first film. But before I give my further thoughts on it, Claire, what did you think of Gladiator 2?
So I went into Gladiator 2 with probably very low expectations because I saw that it was getting slated and stuff. And I was really pleasantly surprised. Like, I don't think Gladiator needed a sequel. Like, it's absolutely perfect. It's like one of the best films probably ever made, depending who you ask. It didn't need a sequel, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I loved it. I had so much fun watching it in the cinema. I thought that all the acting was fantastic. Like, Paul Mescal's at the top of his game at the minute. He was really, really good. I didn't realize he had like a Roman nose until the film. Like, that's pretty cool, yeah. Anyway, I thought that Denzel Washington stole the show. Like, I thought his character was just insane. Like, such good acting. I really enjoyed his character. Pedro was really good as well. There was a few times throughout the film where I was like, this is a bit ridiculous. Like, the sharks. Like, how did they get the sharks into the... And like, did they actually do that in real life? I don't think so. But apparently they did use water in the Colosseum. Like, but where did they get the water from? I don't know. I had like so many questions. And the monkeys, there's a scene with monkeys as well. And they don't look like monkeys. Like, they don't at all. So there was a few bits where I was like, oh, this is a bit far-fetched. But other than that, I thought the plot was really good. I thought the pacing was good. I thought the acting was really good. It was fun. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Gladiator 2 for me. I think it's just very cookie cutter blockbuster, and you've got all these other elements working in and around it. Like you mentioned the acting, I agree with you. I think in terms of Denzel Washington's performance, I think he steals every scene that he's in. Him with his sort of Machiavellian sort of machinations throughout the film, just plotting and scheming. He's just absolutely brilliant at that. And, you know, he's just proven again that he's probably the best actor working in Hollywood at the minute, you know, in terms of being an actor and a movie star at the same time. I can't necessarily agree with you when it comes to Paul Mescal. I love Paul Mescal as an actor. I think he's a fantastic actor. You just watch Aftersun or even Normal People and you'll see that's true. I just don't think he has the presence to be a lead, and it shows at times. Like, he can do a lot of, you know, the sort of the inner sort of emotions of the character quite well. But when it comes to actually projecting it, like when he gives a big rousing speech or something, I just don't believe him enough in that role. But that's, you know, again, it's just a slight fault. I think it's maybe just miscasting more than anything. Pedro Pascal, like you said, it's quite good, and it was good to see Connie Nielsen return in her role. I think when it comes to those set pieces that you were referring to, I think that's just Ridley Scott going, well, I was able to do this in 2000, what can I do in 2024? So it's a case of escalating everything. Like, he had a chariot fight in the middle of the Colosseum in the first one, so I'm just going to throw in a rhino this time, or I'm going to have a big nautical battle like they actually did in the Colosseum. But I think there is a bit of embellishment when it comes to adding sharks, as he said in interviews. But again, it's Ridley Scott. He'll just go, I don't care. I had my fun, so that's it. But yeah, I think it's just a solid enough blockbuster, but I think it very much pales in comparison when it comes to the original. But that's, again, just my opinion on it. But Adam, as someone who doesn't really like sword and sandals films, as we've talked off air, and you weren't really a fan of the original Gladiator, has Gladiator 2 changed your mind at all?
No. Gladiator, to me, is the ultimate dad movie. You know, it's the thing with Russell Crowe is that he made that role so memorable, and that people still quote it to this day. And Paul Mescal, as much as I love him, and I think his performance in All of Us Strangers from earlier in the year is probably one of the strongest of 2024. Like you say, he's not the best when it comes to being the centerpiece of a scene, and especially when everybody around him is sort of out acting him. You know, there's all these steady hands like your Denzels that just in any scene it's just like, whoa, that was a burst of fresh air of like, yes, they both still have the sauce, both Denzel and Ridley Scott, that they can give scenes like this. But then you get into the Colosseum scenes and it's like watching Spy Kids 3D with these CGI sharks and monkeys. And yeah, while it is just a blockbuster, I was still sitting there being like, this isn't for me, and I'm not going to enjoy this, and this isn't going to convince me. But overall, solid movie. I wasn't sitting there being like, this is terrible. Like, I can't believe Madam Web is better than this. Absolutely not. But yeah, it's fine. I think if you were a fan of the first one, you'll enjoy this, but it won't be a yearly watch like the Gladiator movie will be in some fathers' homes.
Well, I'm an absolute proponent of dad cinema. Like, when it comes to when I rewatched the original, I was standing there, arms folded, standing watching the film from the very start, as all dads should do. No one sits when the dad movie comes on, no matter what scene. He will get up, he will stand, and he will watch the duration of the film. I don't know if I would have the patience to do it with this one necessarily. I think it's a solid piece of work, but I don't think it comes close to reaching the heights of the original. And for me as well, it's a point we didn't really touch upon, it comes through the score as well, because I watched the original Gladiator the night before the sequel, and for me, when you've got that Hans Zimmer score that's full of grandeur and it's booming throughout, I think the one that they used this time, I can't remember the composer's name, it's a lot softer and it doesn't really give the film the oomph that the original had. So Gladiator 2, I think it's worthwhile seeing on the big screen, but chances are it'll not have the lasting impact that Gladiator has. So I think we'll just take a step away from the Colosseum for a minute, and we will look at this week's pick of the streams.
This Wolverine let down his entire world.
Want to talk about what's haunting you, or should we wait for a third act flashback?
Go yourself.
I don't know anything about saving worlds, but you do.
Trust me, kid, I'm no hero. You were an X-Man. You were the X-Man. I am soaking wet right now.
So that was Deadpool and Wolverine. A film I have been dreading to watch for a long time, but sure enough, since I've had to do it for the TV show, I took the plunge, I watched it. Did I like it? We'll find out. But I'm going to come to the #1 fan of the film, the ultimate proponent of Deadpool and Wolverine, Adam. What did you think of the film?
This is my second time seeing it, and only because of the TV show. I seen it the first time because I was like, you know what, give it a chance. There was some promotional material that was like, you know what, they're pulling at the heartstrings of, you know, the Hugh Jackman character and, you know, X-23. We can spoil it now, it's out on streaming. But then going to the cinema and watching it was comparable to going to a dentist, and the dentist is like, sorry lads, I had boojum the night before. And just for 2.5 hours, him drilling away at your teeth, being like, I'll be back in a minute, while he just goes and does something terrible in the bathroom, and I'm just sat there awkwardly, just like this, not being able to move. That's the equivalent of watching Deadpool and Wolverine to me, that it is something that I never want to put myself through again, and that it has no cinematic quality to give to the world, as it is shot much like the Golden Girls TV show, in both its lighting and staging. The performances were probably just, you know, made up on the day. Hugh Jackman's trying his best, but, you know, when you've no script and you've Ryan Reynolds chirping in your ear 24/7, you can only just put up with so much. And I feel sorry for the man, I really do. But the dog, though, the lead dog, he's good. So 5 stars for the dog. Everything else, no.
Well, I agree with you on Dogpool. Everyone loves Dogpool. If they made a film about Dogpool, I would probably make a film of the year. But unfortunately, they decided to make one about Deadpool and Wolverine, and unfortunately, it is a travesty of a film. I agree with you 100%. It doesn't even feel like a film. It feels like a product more than anything. It's a case of, right, we'll have this scene here, and remember that character you liked from that past Fox film that no one really liked back in the day, but for some reason, people like these characters now? Well, here you go. And then people are applauding them, like, but you never liked them in the first place. But anyway, yeah, so you've got like a cavalcade of cameos coming in and out. There's a vague story about saving the multiverse just to string the thing together. Ryan Reynolds, I think I've described him as being the cinematic antichrist on this show before, and I still stand by that. This film just proves it. I have never seen a more grating performance in all my life, where every other line he delivers is just an innuendo or a phallic joke, and I'm sitting there in awe going, how does anyone find this funny? The worst thing a film can do is make me angry, and this film made me very, very angry. I had to take breaks watching it last night. I was just that annoyed and frustrated at it. But I've soldiered on. I watched it through to the end, and I'm kind of glad I did, because I got to see wee Dogpool at the end again. But like you said, it's nice to see Hugh Jackman returning the role, and he does give his all in it. You know, when he's reminded by how much he was paid to come back, you're like, well, maybe I can pull back a bit. But the sort of drama and the emotion they try and inject it all falls completely flat, because what they're trying to make you do is care for a character that's already dead. That version of Wolverine that, you know, we've come to love throughout all the X-Men films, and then even, you know, the likes of Logan and that character's gone, but there's a new variation of him. So this character feels like a cosplay version of that. So it's like, oh no, we're just going to pass those sort of thoughts and feelings that you have onto this character, and you're going to love him as much. So I was like, I'm not falling for that. It's not the same. So ultimately, I think this is a very poor product from the MCU, and it does feel like a sort of a desperate grab for popularity again, because it has been waning slightly. And it seems to have worked because it's a huge financial success. But for me, I'm glad I didn't go to see it in the cinema. And would I like to see more of this kind of film? No. But that's our thoughts. Claire, are you in the same boat as us, or have you decided to take a different route?
So I just want to start off by saying you guys are so brave for watching it. I can't believe I'm defending a superhero film, because I'm so done with them, like so done with them. And I went in to this film with the lowest expectations of all time. I actually didn't think I was going to make it through the whole film before I even turned it on. I was like, I'm going to probably either fall asleep or just turn it off because I'll be so angry. But the opening scene actually kind of locked me in a bit. I don't know if it was the Backstreet Boys or if it was kind of like Ryan Reynolds and his charisma. And I just want to add that I'm so done with Ryan Reynolds, by the way. Like, I'm genuinely done with him and Blake Lively. But he hooked me in, and I enjoyed it. I'm surprised I actually enjoyed the film. Do I think it's the best film of all time? Definitely not. But it's like, it was fun. If you don't think about the plot too much, like if you don't think about the storyline or the plot, and you're just there for like the kind of roller coaster ride of emotions, I do think that there was a bit of overkill with how many cameos they had. Like, it wasn't really necessary. But it was a fun film. I did enjoy it. I laughed a few times towards the end. I thought it was really good too. It's fun, and I think that they should probably just leave it where it is now with the whole of the Marvel universe. Like, just quit while they're ahead. Just please stop making superhero films, please.
Well,
stop.
Don't worry, this is a super horror for me, and Adam as well. No, I think the problem is there is just flat out fatigue, and like I said, this seems like a cash grab more than anything. Like, that for me, it blatantly is pointing towards that's the direction they were going with in this here. I would like them to sort of like not be so focused on having to have all these stories tied together and having multiverses and stuff like that. Go back to its roots and making simple sort of superhero films like you had at the start of the phase 1 of the Marvel universe, or even, like you suggested, just put an end to it or take a break from it completely. Because after watching this, I actually end up watching an episode of The Penguin as a palate cleanser, and the differences in quality between those two properties is night and day in terms of how they treat the characters, how it's shot and everything else. It's just like literally going from one end of the spectrum to the other. But yes, I can safely say that Deadpool versus Wolverine won't be topping a best of list for me this year. So let's move away from that. We've got it all out of our system, and we'll have a look at our DVD of the week.
I don't know why you have to have every conversation on video.
Because we're making a documentary.
Not about us getting lost. We're making a documentary about a witch. They're all over the place.
Well, how do we know it was people?
Well, even if it wasn't, I'm not going to play with that either.
And it's all because of me that we're here now. Hungry and cold and hunted. Just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom.
Tell me where you are, Josh!
So that's a clip of the Blair Witch Project, a film that's 25 years old. It sort of reinvigorated the found footage genre, subgenre of horror. Claire, even before what you thought of the film, have you seen it before come to the show tonight? And sort of what are your general thoughts towards it?
So I watched Blair Witch, I think it was like 3 years ago, on the big screen, and I remember really enjoying it the first time I saw it. And then whenever I watched it over the weekend there, I hated it. I hated it so much. Three of the most insufferable people of all time make a documentary. And can I just add, I was rooting for the witch the whole time. Heather, I have never, is her name Heather? Heather or Helen? Heather. The amount of screaming she did, it really irked me. Like, I started to get I think I got like as angry as you did watching Deadpool. I feel like their documentary was going to be so bad that whoever finds it is going to be so relieved that none of them are around to be there anymore. So yeah, I really didn't like it this time around at all. It's just so much screaming, so much noise. All the characters are terrible, like really terrible characters. And Heather, there needs to be like an I Hate Heather fan club or something like that. I don't know, she really annoyed me.
Well, I agree with you in terms of the characters. I think the characters are very great, but for me, that adds to the realism of it. That like not everyone's going to be affable and nice to each other, especially when you put them under those extreme circumstances. Lost in the woods, making this film, they're just constantly getting irritated at each other, as well as the external forces just messing with them as well. So in that respect, I really like the film, but my sort of legacy with it is I was about 9 years old when it came out originally, and I was so terrified by the prospect of even like watching it that a promotional still in the newspaper gave me nightmares for about 2 weeks. I couldn't sleep and I was screaming, bawling my eyes out over this thing. And you know what the image is? The one that's been parodied in Scary Movie, when it's just that upshot of Heather with her runny eyes and runny nose. So it's funny how things change over time, but having rewatched it again for the show, I still think it retains some of the sort of scares and the power behind it. And I think that comes more from the atmosphere than anything else. And I think it's very much a film you have to watch in a certain atmosphere, lights off, just the TV, put your phone away and everything, just to lock you in with the film. But I think the problem with that now is that everything's so digital, where this was sort of in a sort of video-based world, where somebody could have like went up to you with a video going, oh, here, I found this weird, scary tape, do you want to watch it? And you could put it on and you would know no better, thinking, are those people actually dead? What's happened here by the end of it? So I think to some extent it retains that power, but I think if you're presenting this to someone, now and just saying, oh, Blair Witch Project, here it is on BBC iPlayer, let's watch it now, they would probably turn you about halfway through going, I'm bored, I am fed up with these characters. But for me, it's the legacy of it that sort of keeps it, alive for me. But that's just my opinion. Adam, what do you think of the Blair Witch Project?
I'm like yourself, Joe, that growing up, whenever I seen like the box cover, or you heard the tales of people, saying, oh, this is real, or this actually happened and stuff, that was enough for me to not watch it for years, because I knew how scary it would be. It wasn't until like a Scary Movie parodied it that I was like, oh, it's okay to make fun of, like it's not that serious. And the legacy it's had on found footage horror movies, you still feel now. And I think something that this movie does is make the characters hateable. And it's something that found footage movies are afraid to do now, because everybody wants their characters to be likable. There's a film I watched earlier this year called Frogman, which is basically the exact same story. It's documentary filmmakers go into the forest and there's a frogman monster. And it's such a stop-start. The characters don't want to say what they truly feel because the script doesn't allow them, because they want people to be roped in by what's actually happening. Whereas Blair Witch is just, these people will tell you how they feel every single moment, whether you like it or not. And it is annoying. And I sat last night, watched it in bed like this, and just would occasionally lean over, get the controller, turn it down, because Heather was just squealing the place down. But by the end, like the last 20 minutes, I did start to feel that panic of, oh, it's all starting to kick off now. And whenever they do get to the house, I was like, oh, I know how this ends. I think the one thing, and it's always been the criticism from everybody, is that it shouldn't end with directed by, with the names and edited, because it takes away from, oh, this was real. It should just cold stop. But yeah, it is one of those movies, like you say, Joe, if you introduce it to somebody now, it's been aped so heavily in media that the scares just aren't there anymore. But looking back on it, and this being the 25th anniversary, it was groundbreaking at the time, and it's a staple piece of cinema. It's going to go down as a legacy of one of the best horror movies ever. Just like, Casablanca and all those things. It's weird that you put the Blair Witch in like a list like that, but it's fine to watch now. It is slightly annoying, but last 20 minutes is worth it, and don't watch the sequel.
So there's nothing left for me to do but to say thank you very much to our guests. So thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Joe.
And thank you very much to our audience at home. So there's nothing left for us to do but to say bye-bye.